Basketball fans, welcome back. So the Nderitu Thunder, they did us proud this week and they won the Road to Bal Elite 16 Division East, and they already clinched a spot for the fifth edition of the BAL next year, BAL Season 5 for next year. And they're going to play in the Nile Conference where they're going to collide with other teams in Rwanda. And in this video, I'll be looking at the statistics and also give a perspective based on the stats, because in the previous video I made a few days ago, I didn't go in depth in the stat sheet because we only reflected on the final score and just give a historic and retrospective timeline on what really happened and the events that led to this point. So the Nerve Sea Thunder, from day one, when Twente acquired the Nerve Sea Thunder, they did a lot of revamping, rebranding. I covered that in detail in the previous videos I've made. So if you have not checked out those videos, please go check them out. And the Nerve Sea Thunder, they had a goal and they had a vision from day one. And when they revamped the roster, they made sure to make some key signings that were going to enable them clinch the KBF title. And subsequently, this led them to having one of the best regular seasons and playoff run in Kenyan basketball history, as the Nairobi Thunder, they never lost a single game in the regular season, going 22-0, and they literally swept everyone in the postseason, going in and beating. No, most notable uh, losses that the other teams faced were the Equity Dumas, who were 0 for 7 for the Nairobi Thunder, and the KPA Dockers, who, my God, they stood no chance and they couldn't even defend home court. And the Nairobi Thunder, with their major plan and the way they executed it pretty well, they went ahead and humiliated the top three teams in the league, most notable KPA, the Equity Dumas, and the Ulinzi Warriors. And standing tall, they went ahead and won the KBF title, beating all of them, and they never took a loss in Kenyan soil. And with the Nairobi Thunder being at an all-time high the way they were, they also made some key additions and key signings to their roster to bolster up and make sure that they're ready for the Road to Bal first round. So prior to the first round, they made key signings. They brought in Tyler Ongwai, they brought in Derek Ogechi, Eugene Adera. Eugene Adera was actually quite interesting because the man played for three teams. He played for KPA, he played for Equity, and he got signed by the Thunder. So the man was just he was just making a stroll and just making stopovers on very big teams. But anyway, it is what it is. They were able to bring him in, and they're able to bring in William Davis and UC at the time. So we had a very good roster, and also uh, most notable mention would be Kenyan Airways Albert Odero. He had made a short. He had a short stint and made a short trip to Uranani, and he played a couple of games there, but he was there on a short-term deal and he came back. So in the first round, the Nairobi Thunder, they stamped their authority on the Biovalon Heat, and this game was not even close because the Biovalon Heat just did not look ready at all, and the final score was 89-58. And with this game, it was just to give us a sense of what to expect with the Thunder, because the Thunder, they went ahead and played they went ahead and played a couple of games here. They played against the Kenya All Stars, they played against the South Sudanese based team. And at that time I was very critical because I wasn't that comfortable with the Thunder matchups at the time. But hey, I mean, the new signings were just paying off with slowly and in due time. So in that first game against the Bivalon Heat, it was a no contest. I can say the Bivalon Heat were not even ready for the Nairobi Thunder. So they didn't pose that much of a threat. But in game two against Urinani. So this was the true test for the Nairobi Thunder, the Urinani team. And in this game, I was keen enough to just follow it from start to finish. I remember I watched it from YouTube, and it was quite a good game. And off the bat, you could see Garang Ding. I mean, this man was just unstoppable. He had a total efficiency of 25, and he was following closely. He was following Marcus Crawford, with who had a efficiency of 27. So Garang Ding was that guy that I must say he's a certified baller and certified bucket because down the stretch until the very last game in the finals for the Division East in the Elite 16, the man was a key contributor to the Nerve Thunder. Out of all the players that played the whole season with the Thunder, this was the man that played the most minutes and he logged the most games with the Thunder. Not many players who played in the main squad that won the KBF title played in this run for the in the first round and the Elite 16, but Garang Ding was that guy. But Talongwa, he carried the day. He had 23 points, and Garang Ding, he had 10 rebounds on there. So this was a game that was quite interesting because the Thunder, they were battle tested in this one, and Derek Ogechi, he didn't have a very good game in there. He only had 7. Kennedy Oshiro had 2 points, but Tyler Ongwa's 23 was the points that really brought us into the game, and potentially the game will have gone our favor. But anyway, lost that game by 1 point, and the rest is history because as we speak right now, Urinani are fighting for third place, but it looks like the BL are gonna give the nod to the ABC fighters hailing from Cote d'Ivoire. But anyway, this was the second game, and this was the Thunder's first loss in a long time. For in the, not even a long time, but in the Nervisi Thunder's history, this was the first loss. This new revamped roster for the Nervisi Thunder. This was the first loss they took. They didn't even take it in Kenyan soil. They took it in Tanzania. Ibaha to be specific. So yeah, it was actually quite brutal losing like that. But even in that moment, there was no like warning shots like that because the Thunder, they lost by half a basket. But the thing that really had me shook was that game we lost Will Davis the second because he tweaked his ankle, and had we known how serious that injury was, we would we would have at least panicked. But hey, the Thunder just knew what they needed to do because even with those back-to-back wins against GNBC and JKT, the Thunder needed to improve their front court because the only position that the Thunder really struggled at, and they really needed firepower, was on the front court because Ariel Okal, James Mwangi, Fidel Okoth are not cutting it. And Will Davis, the second, that guy was really good, and he really added on to points because not only could he be able to create at the post, but he could also shoot the occasional three ball and also take the occasional mid range. And he was so multifaceted. So with him going down at that point in time, it was very difficult because the Thunder had not experienced that type of productivity because you can't expect somebody like Ariel Okal or James Mwangi or Fidel to produce like that. So yeah, it is what it is. So without Will Davis, we had UC in there. So UC, he had not come to his own yet. And sometimes I looked at his possessions, I looked at the way he conducted the game and the way he conducted himself during the game. I wasn't as comfortable with him, but as the games progressed and the Thunder were just going in deep, you could see that they were, he was building, he was logging minutes, and he was trying to get into the Thunder's rhythm and momentum. So that was actually quite good. So the first 4 games came to a close. The Thunder had a 3-1 record, and they seated second in that group, the East Division group, and they were following Urinani, who finished with a 4-0 record. So Urinani and NCT, the Nervsi Thunder, proceeded to the Elite 16 from the East Division group phase. So I was very excited with this because multiple teams from Kenya, I can notably say KPA and Ulinzi, they tried their hand in the BAL and they were not able to make it. KPA made the Elite 16 twice, but they were not able to make it. So the biggest test for the Thunder at this point, when they were 3-1 in 4 games, were they going to make it past the Elite 16? So that's one question that a lot of people ask themselves. And the Thunder, with their new signings, they looked at their roster and they decided, you know what? Let's bring in BAL veterans and experience. So they brought in Aterma Jock in a blockbuster move, and they brought in Abdullah Haruna. So sometimes if we can even take a step back and look back and ask ourselves, how the hell were they able to get those quality BAL veterans? Because they're coming at a premium. And based on how the BA landscape was, they needed to get some firepower on that front court and add some defense because Atera Majok, he was the defensive anchor, I can say, in that team because he's a BAL defensive player of the year and a BAL champion. So bringing him on the roster was a no-brainer. And Abdullah Haruna, he led BAL season 4 with 4 steals. The game's a steals leader, and he made an all-defensive team. So having those two guys fix the defense, which is something that the Nderitu Thunder were lacking, was the main ingredient that led them to where we are right now. Because there was no way you're losing with one of the most winningest players in BAL. We have Abdullah Haruna, who's a very good two-way player, and Atar Majok, who's a defensive beast, and he can also create on the post, depending on the matchup that is put on him. So with the addition of those two guys, it changed the way we looked at the Thunder because the Thunder they were just a different beast, and I was very confident because I knew with the Thunder adding those guys, there was no way the Thunder were gonna blow this. So the first game was against South Africa's MBB. So this game was a blowout, and there was no point in time where this game was close. The final score was 102-59. So with this game, even at the time I made a video talking about it, it was one of the most brutal performances for the other side because Nderitu Thunder, everything was running on all cylinders. You could see the Nderitu Thunder team just come together very well. Abdullah Haruna, his 18 points and 45% shooting from the field was the difference because man was just hooping. Garang Ding, he held his own with 16 points on 75% shooting. So for him being there and having that productivity and consistency was the difference. Then you see leading with 7 assists and 10 points on 80% shooting from the field. And Albert Odero, I mean, the man was 66.7% shooting from the field on 9 attempts from the field. So he didn't make a three like that, but hey, it is what it is. So Albert Odero, 15 points. Tyler Ongwai, I noticed something with Tyler. He attempted a lot of threes and he was playing a lot of defense. So Tyler Ongwai, he gave up his offensive firepower for defense so that the other guys can be able to score, which was the biggest sacrifice I have seen. Because Tyler Ongwai, I'm used to that guy going ahead, going on the attack. I mean, having the offense a bit set up for him in some possessions where he's able to knock down the occasional mid-range, go inside. But in this one, he took a step back a bit, but it was for the betterment of the team. So it is what it is. Eugene, 8 points on 67% shooting from the field, and he had 5 rebounds in there. So he didn't distribute the rock pretty much because you see did all the load and carried all the load there. So yeah, that game against MBB was just a whitewash. And the Thunder, they shot 34% from the field and 52% on total field goals. So, but on inside field goals and 2-point field goals, 26 out of 37 attempts, 26 went in. So that's 70%. So they were really, really converting inside. And in this game, Atermajok didn't come alive despite playing 25 total minutes. And he only had a measly 7 points and 5 rebounds. So he had not come to his own on offense. But the other guys really, really did a solid and stepped up really well. So even looking at this game, it was the first game in the Elite 16 and it was a blowout. And the Nderitu Thunder were the first team to lock up 100 points, 100 plus points in a single game. Because majority of the games the other teams played, nobody was able to lock up 100 points. I mean, that was actually quite impressive. But looking at the next game against Creole Star, so Creole Star was literally the same thing that happened to MBB because the game went to 100 points for the Thunder. 104-71 was the final score, and the Thunder dominated every single quarter. So this domination from the Thunder and everyone just working on all cylinders was the difference. And the guys who didn't come alive in the previous one, sort of came alive, but you could see Abdullah Haruna. He was held back a bit. He was not able to find his rhythm on offense. He only had 9 points, and he was 3 of 9 from the field. So that was actually sad because there was a guy that he's good at playing and finding his spots and scoring. He was 3 of 9, so that was actually quite brutal for him. And most notable, even from even before even get deep into this Creole Star game, our most notable mention was Kennedy Oshira. I mean, Kennedy Oshira, I must say, this man is just a fourth quarter beast because in the fourth quarter, the man just came alive and he played 10 minutes, but I believe this was a fourth quarter masterclass because he was just hitting and he wouldn't miss. So shout out to you, man. You did us proud. So in that Creole Star game, similar performance. I mean, there was a slight drop off, especially when it came to like shooting from the field for the Thunder. 39 out of 82 attempts. That's 48% shooting. And when it came to the three ball, the Thunder attempted a lot of threes. I mean, this is for the first time in Kenyan basketball history, as seeing a team utilizing the three ball and playing modern day basketball. Because in most cases and scenarios, when it comes to basketball, we are seeing teams fail to understand that in this day and age for basketball, for you to be able to produce consistent wins, you have to shoot at least uh, 40 to 42% from downtown for the team, not even individually, but for the team. So you have to attempt a couple of threes so you can be able to cut the deficit because sometimes the score can be too high and you're trying to close the gap. And you can't close the gap while going inside because a lot of times when the other team catches on the fact that you can't shoot, they start playing to your weakness. So the Thunder, they have no weak spots like that. And as much as they didn't shoot and score a lot of threes like that, they were 11 out of 30 attempts, only 11 went in. It was enough because they were able to convert even from the free throw line. So this was a huge plus. So Creole Star, they dispatched them in brutal fashion. So this was expected for me because I never felt like Creole Star were a threat like that. And the third game against Bravehearts. So Bravehearts, they were coming off back to back losses. So honestly, in this game, it was a no brainer that the Thunder were going to win it. And when they won this game, they made sure to make a statement because they won every single quarter, similar to what happened to the Creole Star game. And the Thunder, not only did they attempt threes, but they also, you know, made a great attempt to score in the from the free throw line because on 14 attempts they made 10 of them. So they didn't go to the line as much, but hey, it is what it is because in the previous game against Crystal, they had the ability to draw fouls and they're going to the line most of the time. So in this one, they were able to just pull on a masterclass. So Tyler Ongwai did not play in this game. He was listed as a DNP. And Derek Ogechi, he was the one who came alive with his 18 points on 54% shooting from the field. And he had 6 rebounds in there. And he was good. And on that offense, he carried the load on offense because a couple of guys were not able to get on their own very well. Aterma Jock, he was really, really struggling to get into the offense. He had 9 points, 9 rebounds. So it was quite brutal for him. Abdullah Haruna, his performance, okay, he shot 50% in that game against the Bravehearts, but still, you could see the consistency thing was not there because teams already caught on to Abdullah Haruna like that. Eugene Adera, he had 14 points in there. So this game, the Thunder just played textbook basketball in this one, and they didn't have to overexert themselves against Bravehearts because the next game that they are going to play was against the City Oilers team. So prior to this game, I was waiting to see the winner who's gonna come out from the City Oilers versus the Uranani game. And when I watched this one, I was like, the winner of that game will dictate the next person you're going to play. So I was gearing up towards the Nderitu Thunder. This iteration of the squad meeting the Urnani team. But I mean, the basketball god said, you know what, let's just get go for City Oilers because the Urnani team erased a 22-point deficit and they came back and they won that game in OT. So yeah, that was actually quite good. So prior to even this City Oilers game, the Nerbisi Thunder they were blowing out teams, and they had not skipped a beat at all. Especially when they lost that game against Urnani with 1 point, all the games have just been blowouts. Then the biggest test that the Nerbisi Thunder have experienced was against the City Oilers team because this game was, I must say, the difficulty was just so high. It was just too high. But the Thunder, even despite the game proving to be quite difficult to score points, especially defending home court, they were able to not only cut the not only not even like cut deficits or anything, but they're able to like pile on because at some point you could see the City Oilers were trying to cut the deficit like that, but the Neripsi Thunder were just coming back and just going back on their own because the Neripsi Thunder won all the quarters, and the third quarter is the one that was quite scary because the City Oilers team were just on the comeback trail because in the third quarter the Neripsi Thunder scored 20 points to the City Oilers 19. So you could see the City Oilers were clawing back, but the damage had already been done in the first half. And I was really, really on the edge of my seat because I watched this game live and I really, really wanted the Thunder to win it because this was the most important game of the tournament because the winner of this one was going to be in the BL. They would have punched their ticket to the BL. So this game was much more serious than even the finals against Creole Star. And my God, the guys just really showed up. So Aterma Jock, who was quite silent in the first three games, he literally came alive in this one. In 33 minutes, he played seven. He played. He had 17 points on 70% shooting from the field. He was 202. He made two threes, and on the line he only made one free throw from the line. But he had a monster double double of 17 and 10. Although he really struggled with seven turnovers, man, his two blocks and one steal made the difference because man was just out there defensively. And Tyler Ongwai, he was there with 12 points on 32 minutes played, 31%. He didn't. Tyler Ongwai really had a very difficult game. He was not able to fit into the offense like that. But the two guys, or not even I can even say not even two guys, but three guys that made sure to take us and bring this thing home for us were most notably Atar Majok, QC, and our MVP Garang Ding. I must say, if this tournament we're giving out an MVP, the man who really, really deserves that MVP award would be Garang Ding because the man played heavy minutes and he was very, very productive. Okay, his 11 points did not uh quite show like he impacted the game that much, but man was just everywhere, and he was one of the people that assisted in, especially in getting like points up in the points up. So yeah, so having Garang Ding in there was, I can say, literally the difference because when he's on, like even when Tyler Ongwai didn't have a good game, especially in that game, he was able to pick up the load in there. So yeah, and especially from downtown because the Garangding in this game, in this City Oilers game, he was 3 of 4 from downtown. That's it. On 4 attempts, he made 3 of them. So he was quite spectacular in there. And Albertadero, I mean, this game was quite brutal for him because he finished with a donut. And in 9 minutes, he was not able to do anything with the Lokortha donut in there. And Derek Ogechi, he didn't even do that much in this City Oilers game because man, the game was very physical and everyone was trying to one up the other team. So Ater Majok and his experience, and especially him and UC and Haruna also with his quiet 7 points in there, just had the experience to just play winning basketball. And the game was not high scoring like that because the Nervsi Thunder at this from the beginning of this tournament, this was the lowest points that they've been held to, 72 points. And they were able to beat City Oilers to make it to the finals. So at this point, I was just very excited. This is the most celebrated game despite it being a semifinals and they're going to play the finals to know who's going to win the division East. But the Thunder, they did spectacular things. They shot 43% from the field, or 50% on 2 point field goals, and 35% from downtown, which is above average considering the fact that this game was very difficult. They attempted 29 threes and only made 10 of them. So they didn't give up on the three ball. And especially Tyler Ongwai, his 3 point shooting was really, really hurt him in this one because he was attempting a lot of threes. And also Abdullahi Haruna, he was not able to knock down the threes like that. So yeah, sometimes it just happens like that. It's quite difficult. But given like the whole tempo of the game, the Thunder really conducted themselves pretty well. And they learned from what happened from Urunani. So they were able to, find ways to win the game. And the one major concerning thing that I even had, even and I made a couple of videos talking about the Thunder, was the Thunder needed to agree on who was gonna close the games for us because there are so many options on offense. So we have Derek Ogechi, we've got Garang Ding, got UC, Aterma Jok, Kennedy Washira, Abdullahi Haruna, Ongwai, and Alberto Dero. So they needed to find who is going to help in close game situations, who is going to be able to close out the game for us. So that was one thing that they needed to decide on, because if they didn't, it will be quite difficult. It will be quite difficult for them to be able to convincingly even beat other teams that are in the contest. But in that City Oilers game, that game was very important because they went ahead and won it, and not only that, they punched their ticket to the BAL. So the only team that was left was Creole Star, and Creole Star, the Nairobi Thunder already made quick work of them, and this game ended 99-86, and the Thunder continued their demolition job and they beat them. Even despite Creole Star trying to claw their way back in the fourth, the Thunder had already won the ball game, and it was a no contest. And being crowned the Division East champions and having their guys, especially Garang Ding. I mean, this game he had 20 points, a bad guy in there. Okal Kuranga, he had 17. Eugene Adera had 12. So Tyler Ongwai did not play and UC did not play. They were listed as red shirts in there. So we had Garang just have one of his most classic performances, 20 points, 78% shooting from the field, 4 of 5 from downtown, and 2 of 3. And he followed up with 7 rebounds, so that was actually quite good. At least we got to see Okal Karanga went up in the double digits, he's scoring 17 points. So that in itself was a big W because we all got to see the other guys. Eugene Adera, he started in this game and he had 12 points. He played 38 total minutes. So the man played the whole game because UC was not playing there. So he was the best available person in the point guard position. And Alberto Dero, although he didn't play that much, but he had his eye, so he was a bit, shaken with that fall. So I was like, they should just take him out of the game because it's not a must that he plays the whole thing. But anyway, it is what it is. So the Nairobi City Thunder winning the Division East just put Kenya on the map because it's about time we got to see like the Nairobi City Thunder, go ahead and challenge. And not only challenge, but have a team. Kenya just have a team in there. So our main contributors, I mean, we had Garang Ding, who is by far the MVP. I mean, for somebody to be able to average 12 points and be consistent, he shot 66% from the field. He was very good. He finished with 7 rebounds, 2 assists. So the man was doing everything, and he played a total of 9 games. So, in my book, Garang Ding, together with UC, Aterma Jok, I mean, those guys really, really carried that team consistently. The other guys, I must say, they had their moments. They had solid performances, but Garang Ding's performance was the difference. And he's out of his consistency and availability to play, and not like and turning up for big moments. Because sometimes you could see a player is very solid. Let's say a guy like Derek Ogechi, like the man is very solid, but the inconsistent performances are the ones that really, really hurt him statistically. Albert Odero, he had 10 points in there. He averaged 10 points on 50% shooting from the field and one of three and 1.3 assists. He averaged 1.3 assists, 2.3 total rebounds. And you see, he was another key option because his 5.6 assists should not be taken lightly because the man just was built for these moments when, and I can even say he's just a veteran at this because in the first games in the first round, a lot of times he was not making good decisions on the court, but as the tournament progressed, he was able to come to his own and he was able to be very productive at that point. So I mean, this was a very very good performance for him from him. Then the other guys, I mean, it was just great. So I must say I am very excited with this Nairobi City Thunder squad. They're going to play in BAL Season 5. And they're going to play, also Creole Star are going to play there, something that I didn't expect. I was expecting the finals to be set as uh, the Nairobi City Thunder versus Urinani, that matchup. That's what I was waiting on. And even while I was on the journey, on the trip to be there to watch the City Oilers game, when I was following up with on the game on my YouTube, or even on on the website, I was surprised to see Creole Star upsetting Urinani. And I'll also make a video talking about Urinani's case because I know there was a couple of posts that were made, and I saw Chris Crawford. He had some choice things to say. I'm gonna address that in detail. Also give a real reason as to why I feel like the BAL and FIBA are colluding to make sure that Burundi will not participate in BAL. So that's actually quite important, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. But well done to the Nerve Sea Thunder. I mean, I made a video immediately. I didn't even it went. I went and scripted on that one, but I just said, you know what? Let me just make sure to just put this out there because man, the Nerve Sea Thunder did not disappoint at all, and they did us proud, and they gave us everything that they got, and I must say I was very happy, especially in that City Oilers game when I was able to witness it live. I was so happy because Kenyan basketball for the longest time we have been disrespected so many times, especially when it came to the national team level, at the club level. Teams never took us seriously. But in one season where we had one of the best sides to come out of Kenyan basketball in recent times, dominate in a very good way. I mean that was that just hit different, and it just goes to show you that one season can change everything. Similar to what happened to South Sudan, I know. I know a lot of things went into setting up and being in this position. So I mean, I'm just excited to see us on the map because without that performance from the Thunder and without the resources they managed to pull together and the talent acquisition and players, coaching staff cooperating with everything Thunder and making sure that they are consistent, this would not have happened. But with this happening, it is just going to change everything about Kenyan basketball. So, I mean, I'm very excited. So, do drop me your comments down in the comment section down below what you think. I mean, I'm very excited. I'm going to catch you all in the next one. Peace out.